Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. This is actually my very first video, so I apologize for the lack of professionalism, but I'll try to make up for it with bringing you guys a unique format and being as informative as I can be. So to give a quick introduction to myself, I'm PiLiPiLi. I'm one of the top North American Protoss players. I've been competing in tournaments for quite a while. I've been streaming a lot on Twitch lately, so I decided to make a YouTube channel to bring you guys some educational and some entertaining content in the future. And I was thinking a lot about the format I want to do for my educational videos, because I didn't want to just simply bring you guys build orders, because I think it's kind of boring. So I was trying to make it a little more engaging, and that's how I came up with this 420 challenge. So the idea of it is that I will teach you guys 4-gate glaive adept build order that was popularized by Zest earlier this year at IEM Katowice. And I'm sure you guys seen this build a lot. I'm sure you guys even seen some guides, but we'll try to make it a little more engaging, as I said. So the point of the challenge is once I teach you the build, you guys will have an opportunity to do the build yourselves. And then if you get the exact same timings that I get, which is why it's 420 challenge, because you want to have 8 glaive adepts at 4 minutes and 20 seconds. And if you manage to do that, then you get one free replay analysis from me that I will do for my next YouTube video. So to start off here, we'll jump into the replay of me against AI. And that's something you guys want to do as well. You don't want to do this on ladder because we're going to be cutting corners. And the reason I've kind of been doing that is I also think it's a good way for you guys to practice builds in the future. Like when you try a new build, the best thing to do at first is actually to try it against AI and see if you can actually manage to hit the same timings as pro gamers do. And by cutting corners, I also mean we're not going to scout at all. Because we're playing against AI, we don't really care what they're doing. And obviously you can't do that in real games, but that's not the point. Because if you can manage to hit the timings of a pro gamer in game against AI, then in the real game, if your timing is just 5-10 seconds late, it's perfectly fine. Because your opponents are also not pro gamers. Their timings are even worse. So then you would just collect free wins if you actually manage to hit your build or anywhere close to what pro gamers do. So let's go over the replay, and then I'll go into details what I want you guys to do to actually complete the challenge. So to start off, I did pick submarine. It's a little bit easier of a map to do this build on because it takes less time for the warpism to get across the map and warp in. But if you guys do this challenge, it's also easier to do in submarine, a little trick, just because the map is shorter. But overall, you start with a pylon on the low ground, as per usual. You go for the classic 16 gateway, and don't worry about taking notes on the build order. In the stream description, I will post a link to this replay, so you guys will always be able to watch yourself to see what I'm doing. And I'll post a Google Doc that will include a detailed build order and like when you're supposed to do certain things, so you don't have to worry about writing it down. But as I said, 16 gateway, you follow up with the gas. Then you're going. We're not scouting this game as you normally would in the real game, but as I said, we're cutting corners. And also technically, if you play with a probe scout, and sometimes you would see Zest scouting before the first pylon just so they can block Zerg's natural, then your timings get later and later, and that's perfectly fine. But if we're doing no scout, our timings is going to be much sharper, but in the real game you'll scout, your timings will suffer. But I guess that's not the point. I also wanted to make it end at exactly 420. And not probe scouting is the only way to actually execute the build that way. But you go for 20 Nexus, which is very important, and 20 Cyber. You cut probes there. 20 Nexus, 20 Cyber. Then you make a 21 gas, 22 second pylon. You continue producing probes. You only do one chrono boost into the Nexus when the first pylon finished. As you can see, I'm already like almost at 100 energy, but you are saving that energy so you can chrono boost your first Stalker and Adept. You get full saturation on middles, 3 on each gas, then you start rallying on the natural. As soon as the Cyber finishes, you start your Stalker or Adept. Both kind of work. If you start a Stalker, sometimes you can manage to kill their overlords. Some Zergs are greedy, and they will send the overlord like to scout in the main base, and you can kill it right away, which is very good. And if you go Adept first, you can also scout with it, if you will. But I prefer Stalker first lately, but it's purely stylistic. So then you go for the Twilight Cancel at around 26 apply, I believe. But once again, in the Google Doc that I'll post, it will have exact timings. As soon as Stalker finishes, you want to start Adept, and if you want Adept first, then obviously you want to start Stalker after, because you always want to have an anti-air unit, so the Overlord can't just like camp in your base. So you make a Robo at around 31 supply. This game I made it in the wall. You don't have to do it. A lot of times you will see pro gamers put it like here, but making it in the wall makes you a little safer against Link Floods, because you make a Robo before second gateway, so your second gateway is a little later. I like making a Robo in the wall. Obviously the downside is the Overlord here will see it, but honestly, if you're not top Grandmaster, your opponents don't even know what they're looking at. They see a Robo there, they're not going to understand what that means, so it doesn't even matter if they see it. So I would recommend just putting it in your wall. Makes you a little safer, and doesn't really give up too much information. As soon as Robo starts, that's kind of an important part. You want to pull some probes of gas. See, I already pulled 1 probes of gas there. I'm going to pull another one. So you only want to have 2 probes on gas, because you want to maximize your middle income. In the meantime, you're getting another gateway. You keep probing up until you can get to 20 to 30, I think 29 probes in 2 buildings, so 31 probes. That's kind of where you stop. Then you start another Adept. And at 37 supply, you stop making probes for quite a bit. The reason of that, because you need all your money into extra gateways. So you start glaives, you chrono boost it a couple times, and then at 37 supply, you want to make 2 extra gateways, and then we're going to wait for the Robo to finish, and as soon as it finishes, we'll be able to make a War Prism. So see, it lines up perfectly. So now we have a 39 supply. Now we can restart probe production, because we got everything middle-wise that we needed. So we got 2 Adepts, and this build lines up very nicely. See, we got 2 Adepts, then Warp Gate finishes, and then we can make 2 more. We're still making a couple pylons. Obviously, you don't want to get supply blocked. Once again, in the Google Doc, you will see a more detailed build. I don't want to go too much into details about stuff like that. But build lines up very nicely, because you get 4 Adepts here, and by the time the Warp Prism gets across the map, those gates actually recharge. You can warp in again, and those open, so you can warp in 4 more. And you can see me resume playing here, because I'm pretty sure the first time I tried to do this build, I messed up my pylon. I didn't make one of those pylons, and I got supply blocked, so I had to redo it. It took me 2 tries myself. But yeah, and then you open the prism, you have 4 gateways ready, you have 34 probes. This is kind of your golden timing. Right about, so at 4:20, for me it was a little earlier, 4:17, but for you guys, I want you at 4:20 timing. This is when I want you to have a Warp Prism across the map with 4 Adepts and warping in 4 extra. That's the timing you want to achieve. And at home, obviously, you want your glaives are about to finish. See, they're a couple seconds from finishing. So as soon as those finish in shade, we'll have glaives. You want to have around 34 probes, but you know, if you have 32, you know, I won't be too judgmental, but 34 is kind of ideal. You want to have extra pylons. Kind of here, I actually messed up. I should be starting extra pylons soon. I might actually be doing that, but because you know you need another warp in, so you want to have more pylons on the way after this. But we're not going to focus on that too much. The point is that at 4:20 you want to have 8 Adepts, 4 gateways, glaives almost finished, and 34 probes at home. That's kind of your golden timing. And as I said before, I will do follow-up videos on this build where I will talk about how to defend Link Floods, how to defend Roach Hollands, how to defend Zerg just staying on 2 bases, how to follow up this build, what happens, like how to control Adepts, how to follow up. Do we follow up with DTs? Do we follow up with Immortals? Do we follow up with Disruptor drops? And I'll do videos on all that stuff later. But for now, for you, I want you guys, if you haven't done this build before, is to actually learn how to do the build first of all. And then we'll go into more complex stuff such as how to scout, how to defend certain things, how to follow up, how to micro your Adepts. But until you can actually manage to properly hit the timings, none of that matters. Because if you can't hit it, like if you hit at this, like I sometimes watch replays doing this, people doing this build, and they hit at 5 minutes, and they're like, well, Zerg has 20 roaches, like how is this build ever supposed to work? This build sucks. Well, yeah, because you're 40 seconds late, right? So first of all, you guys need to get the build order down, and that goes for most builds that you ever do. The very first thing, especially as Protoss, because Protoss is very much timing-oriented race, if you can't get your timings right, nothing else matters. You can have the best Oracle micro in the world, but if your Oracle is like 2 minutes late and you show up when they have 6 queens and 3 spores, there's just nothing you can do. So first things first, we get the build order down. So now, for what I want you guys to do, there's a couple websites that you could use to upload replays, such as DropSC and SC2 replay stats. I'll post both links in the description as well. And what I want you guys to do, once you manage to actually execute the build order, upload that replay to one of those websites and post them in the YouTube comment section. Post it along with the replay that you want me to analyze, because if you do manage to get the timings around mine, you don't have to be exactly perfect with it. Like if you're warping at 421 or 422, I'll accept it. It's good enough. But yeah, basically what I want to see is 2 replays, 2 links to replays in the comment section. One for you executing the build, so I can confirm that you actually managed to execute the build properly. And the second replay would be just any ladder replay you have or custom game replay that you have that you want me to analyze to kind of give you some advice on how to use your hotkeys, how to use the build, like what mistakes you made in that game, and I'll do that for the next YouTube video. So I guess that should be good. So if you guys enjoyed the video, please subscribe. I'll do a lot more, as I said, on this build, because this build is very unique, and I've been using this build a lot in tournaments, and I have a lot of follow-ups to it, but they're all very unique, and I think they all deserve a separate video. So that's what we'll be working towards. And yeah, I think that's about it. I'll see you guys next time.